Okay, so we are now at the part of the story where the Rama and his brothers have been born, and everything is just beautiful in Ayodhya. And actually, Yodhya means conflict, and the A in front of it, just like ahimsa, negates that. So without conflict or no conflict. So everything is just perfect in Ayodhya with Ram and the brothers and the kings and the queens. Everything is just, it's like a perfect utopia. And remember, this journey is us journeying ourselves to Ayodhya, journeying within to a place where there's no conflict within ourselves, to our city within where there's no conflict. So everything is just perfect, and Vishwamitra comes knocking on the door. And in actually, a lot of just in the East in general, but in yoga, it is said that when the guest arrives, the guest is king. And it's one thing, like if you, there's still kings, or sorry, not king, but God. So, if you have company coming or whatever, there's still God. But if you have someone who shows up unexpected, then that you definitely, and especially if it's a saint or a sage, that is God. So you do whatever you can because you've been given this incredible opportunity to serve God. So Vishvamitra, which means friend to all, he shows up at the gates and they let him in, and he goes in and he's talking to King Dashrata, and Dashrata's saying, "Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. Because you're offering, right? You're offering to God. So what can I do for you? What do you want? Anything that I have is yours." And Vishwamitra says, "This is so wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that, you're on board, that anything." And he says, I need Ram and Lakshman to go with me to fight the demons because I am unable to complete my yagyas. And if we think about the yagyas in this sense, what we're thinking about is, because remember, this is all, the Ramayana, this is all about us individually. So the yagyas are because he's doing these yagyas for all of humanity, for all beings. So for us, it would be acts of selfless service. We would consider that our own yagya. But he's unable to complete these yagyas, these fire offerings, because the demons are coming and they're destroying the offerings and they're doing. And how many times, like on a personal level, have you gone to do something and it becomes suddenly it's not a selfless act? It becomes because suddenly you've identified somehow with that. Those are our internal demons, because if we have any skin in the game whatsoever, if we're looking at if we're looking at the situation that I'm helping instead of serving Riley, then it becomes very selfish, because helping and serving are two very different feels. If I'm helping Kaylee, then it's because I'm better and I need to help her because I need to do something for her to make her, but also then making her indebted to me. But yet if I can go and I can serve Bethany without anything, just I'm serving you because you're divine, you're an aspect of God, and you come here and now I've been given this great opportunity to serve you. Two very different feels. It's like you came in today and you took a job. How wonderful. But so we want to constantly think of ourselves as serving. We want to constantly not think of ourselves as, if you have any desire for any outcome, it's no longer selfless. It becomes selfish. So that means the demons, the ego, those things that reaffirm the ego, are surfacing and making it not a righteous act anymore. So Vishwamitra comes and he says, "Oh, I'm so happy that you're on board with this. What I need Ram and Lakshman to come and help me slay the demons." Now remember, Vishwamitra, he went through all these penances. He's the seer of the Gayatri Mantra. So he could very well slay these demons. So for him to come and ask, he's asking for other reasons as well too. And immediately, Dashrata, his heart just shrinks in attachment. No. Let me give you anything else. I will give you all of my, every single one of my warriors, every single one of my soldiers, I will give them all to you. I will go and fight. I will go and slay these demons. But no, Ram, and he repeats Ram a lot, but Ram and Lakshman, they're so young, they can't do this. They can't do this. You can't take them. They're just now in their youth. You cannot do this. And so Vishvamitra is thinking, you just promised me anything. But now, and this is what happens to us, right? That attachment comes in, and then we don't want to do something selflessly anymore. Because that attachment keeps us stuck. So Vashista, who always gives the best advice, he's one of the Sapta Rishis, the 7 Rishis, and he goes in and he starts really explaining to King Dasharatha, remember, Ram and Lakshman came from the fire. They have a higher purpose. They have a higher goal here in this lifetime. You can't keep them in by sending them, and then he explains to him that, look, Vishvamitra could easily do all of this, but there's something auspicious that's going to come from them going with him. So you need to relinquish your attachment. And how many times is there something that we are attached to that we keep ourselves or we keep someone else from fulfilling or being the best that they can be? Because we're stuck in our tiny little constricted hearts of attachment. So King Dasharatha relents and he says, okay, you have my blessings. You can go. And what's happening here, so when Dasharatha, this is something for us to remember. We can't keep Ram to ourselves. Ram is not ours to keep to ourselves. Unfortunately, that's what many religions do. They think that their God is the only God, and they keep that God to themselves, and they want to annihilate. How many people have died in the name of God over the course of these few thousands of years that we have record of? It's pretty crazy. More people have died in the name of God than they have in the name of Satan. But yet we're afraid of Satan, right? But yet we willingly will go out and slay others because they don't believe the way that we believe. That's not Ram in the heart. That's ego. But when we truly, Ram is meant to be shared. When we have those glimpses of expansion, when we have those moments of feeling this intense love, that's meant to be shared. And the more we share it, the more we do it, because then it becomes bigger and bigger inside of us. So King Dasharatha sends them on the way, and as they're traveling, Vishvamitra is explaining to them, this is what we're trying to do. We have these awful demons coming and they're destroying the sacrifices and we're not able to get anything done. And they get to the hermitage and they're Vishvamitra, so they tell him, Lakshman and Ram say, okay, you sit down, you do your offering and we will do what we need to do. And at this point, Taraka, who is a female Rakshasi, and so Rakshasi is the feminine, Rakshasa is Ravana, the masculine of it. And so she comes up, and at first Ram's looking at her because, whoa, it's a female. And Vishvamitra looks at him and he says, see that pile of bones over there? Those are all from her. And so immediately Ram's like, okay, Vishvamitra wants me to kill her? Okay, I'll kill her, female or not. So he pulls out his bow and he shoots her right in the heart and she dies. And then Sabaru, who is one of her sons, and Maricha come forward and they're fighting and Lakshman destroys. So yeah, okay, I was just making sure I have the names. So Lakshman destroys, Sabahu, and what they're representing here, and at this point also Ram shoots Marich thousands of miles away. He doesn't kill him, he sends him thousands of miles away. So what this is with Taraka, she's our expectations. And our expectations, as Swamiji says, they're the mother of all suffering. I expect something. I give Linda something, I expect something in return. I do something for someone else, I expect something in return. I expect that I'm going to go on a holiday and it's going to be an amazing holiday. I expect that the holidays with my family are going to be perfect. I expect that I'm going to even let's do expectations, but also this feeling of being entitled. I expect or I feel like I'm entitled to a new house, or I'm entitled to new clothes, or I'm entitled to a new partner, or I'm entitled, whatever it is. And I have these expectations of getting those things because we've lost sight of the fact that the only thing that we are entitled to is our karma. So you can expect and you can want all that forever, but if it's not in your karma, you won't get it. So Ram killing her is us the need for us to kill our expectations. And then you have her son, who is that suffering because those expectations weren't met. So we all have pain. And we've said this, Buddha said it, and we've said it around here so many times. We all have pain. The suffering is on you or the suffering's on me. The suffering is optional. The suffering comes because what's stuck up here between the two ears. And this goes back to, as long as I'm hating whoever brings my karma to me, then guess what? I have no ability to grow Ram in my heart. I have no ability to grow love in my heart because I'm expecting people to treat me a certain way. I'm expecting to get what I want. So it would be a good exercise to examine perhaps relationships that you have with folks that they don't treat you the way you want to be treated. Or in the past, you've had a situation where someone didn't treat you the way you wanted to be treated. And then now suddenly you have this animosity towards this person. Examine that. Why do you have a right to hate someone? Why do you have a right to hate a child of God? And for us here, studying the Ramayana, for us here at TYS, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We're not the person going to the bars on the weekends. We're not the person going to the clubs. We're not the person going, whatever it is, the distractions. So we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We have to. So examine why you think you have a right to hate a child of God just because they brought some karma that you earned. So now we have the suffering killed and we have the expectations. And Marich has been sent thousands of miles away. And now Marich comes back. And he is in his true form. He is all full-blown Rakshasa. He is a beast of beast. And he comes in and he starts trying to destroy everything there. And once again, Ram takes his arrow out but shoots him thousands of miles away. So at this point, something happens to Marich. And he builds a hermitage. And he starts doing practices. And he completely disconnects from his Rakshasa family, from the demons that he was connected to. And Ravana, so we'll go back, but we're skipping just because I think this is important to explain a little bit about Maricha here. So Ravana now has found Sita, and he wants Marich to disguise himself as the golden deer, and he wants him to go and pull Sita away so that he can kidnap her. And so he comes and he's having this big discussion with Maricha, and he's explaining to him, I want you to do this. And at this point now, Maricha says, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want that anymore. I don't want to do that. And he explains to him, and he tries really, really hard to dissuade Ravana from going down this path. And Ravana is not to be persuaded because remember, Ravana is Rajas. He's that ego, that restless ego that's always wanting something, that's always looking for something. So now he has these beautiful wives at home, but now he wants Sita because nothing ever satisfies him, nothing ever satiates him. So he's always looking for something else to satiate him. So he's that rajasic energy, that energy where he's just running really, really hard, but he's not making any progress. But he's getting more agitated because nothing around him that he's running after is truly satisfying to him. So anyway, so Maricha is trying to explain to him about Rama and how he's felt so much compassion that Rama didn't kill him, all this other stuff. And Ravana says to him, you either go, and Maricha is explaining to him, if I go again, he is going to kill me. And he says, you either go and you are going to be killed by Rama, or I am going to kill you right now. So you pick. How are you going to be killed? By me, your nephew, or by Rama? And Maricha immediately says, I will go because I choose to be killed by Rama before I choose to be killed by you. Now, what this is saying is that so he goes knowing that he's going to be killed by Rama. But at this point, so from that rajasic energy, he's now, when he got thrown thousands of miles away, and he has in his own hermitage, and he's doing all these practices, he's shifting from that rajasic energy into that sattvic energy. So he is moving into, and the sattvic energy is that energy that is righteous, that energy that, remember, you have Shreya and you have Preya. And you have, Preya is that energy that keeps us connected to the world. It's those pleasures, the pleasure-seeking things that we do. Shreya is that which moves us towards us, that is good, that is righteous, that moves us towards recognizing that Ram lies within our own hearts. And in the cave of our hearts is divinity. Shreya are those moments that move us away from blaming others and hating others and takes us into that moment of being grateful. Being so grateful for the karma that we've experienced, being so grateful for the karma that is going to come, where we study the scriptures instead of going out, where we do our practice in the morning instead of drinking coffee on the veranda. I don't know. I don't know what you would normally do besides your practice in the morning. Watch the news. Yeah, there you go. So he knows he's going to be killed by Ram because even what happens, so even though he has now shifted from this rajasic to this sattvic energy, right? What ultimately happens, so what this is saying to us is that because he's our desires, our passions. So he's moving from the worldly passions and he's pulling all of those and he's honing in so that his desire is to know himself. So that his desire is to be peaceful at all times. So his desire is to have contentment in his heart. His desire is to see God everywhere he looks. So because he knows that if he allows Ravana to kill him, so what that symbolically is saying is that Ravana is not going to kill him as we would think of kill him. So for our purposes here, that means he's going back into the world. So he's going back into the world to be consumed by the world again. So even though he's been practicing however many years that he was practicing, doing all of this stuff in his hermitage, there was still that moment where he had to slay those demonic tendencies, where he had to walk away from the world. He had to disconnect from the world. And for us in the Kali Yuga, it's not meaning us going to live in a hermitage or going into the cave monasteries, because that just isn't happening. That doesn't happen anymore. Those days are over, Swamiji said. But what it means is that we have to have the right relationship with things in the world. So we can't be attached. What comes to us comes to us. What goes, goes. We have to cultivate the right relationship in our minds to have whatever it is that we're supposed to have. It goes back to I love this story so much. The Richard Wurmbrand, who was held in prison for, I believe it was a decade, for his beliefs in Christianity. And so he was held in a Russian prison and tortured for 10 years. One of the things that he was made to do was walk in these tiny, tiny, tiny circles, just walk. And what he would slip. So they did this to break him, to torture him because of his belief. But what he did was he would slip into states of ecstasy because he thought, if this is what God wants for me, why wouldn't I want it for me? So if he has that ability to slip into those states of ecstasy because he shifted what was going on in his head, not hating the guards who were torturing him, not consuming himself with ways that he could kill them or ways that he could torture them, or not being, oh my God, why would Jesus or why would God let this happen to me? I'm such a good person. No, it was, if God wants this to happen to me, why wouldn't I want it to happen to me? And then he would slip into states of ecstasy. What a different, but if he can do it, this is what Swamiji says. Jesus wasn't, what Jesus can do, we can do. What Swamiji can do, we can do. So what we were reading in one of Swamiji's books last night again, and he just briefly talked about one of his studies at the Menninger Foundation. He would bring cancerous tumors up on his body by thinking negatively.
This is the first time I've heard the explanation of how he did it.
So yeah, he would bring these cancerous tumors up, and then he would shift his thinking to thinking positively, and the tumors would dissolve. These are documented facts. These are studies that they did here in the West, and there are studies that the Menninger Society hasn't even released that he did. And he did it not to say, look at what I can do. He did it to say, look at what you can do. Look at how powerful your thoughts are. If you dwell in negativity, you're inviting disease. We have the power to change. But this goes back to this Maricha, right? He had to kill, he had to walk away. He had to walk away from the demons, the world, Ravana, his family, and he had to move towards God. So we have to be mindful, and we have to realize what it is in the world that is keeping us small. So it goes back to one of those, what is a habit? A pattern that you have brought with you that's deeply embedded in you, your vasana, your samskara, that you have to change because you have it in you to change. So he knew that when Rama killed him, because God is all the qualities and he's quality less. So he knew that when he was killed by Rama, even the desire to know God would be gone because he would be God. He would be, that it's when the sugar is the sugar can't taste the sugar, right? The sugar just becomes the sugar. So when Maricha, he knew that even those desires to know God, when those were completely gone, that he would be one with God. It's really beautiful. But we have to look at ourselves. We have to look at our small minds. We have to look at our pettiness. We have to look at our ego. We have to start slaying those things that don't serve us. The problem is we have become addicted to the world. We're no different than anyone else with an addiction that we label as an addiction. Somebody who drinks, somebody who shops, somebody who smokes, whatever it is. Do you drink the drink or does the drink drink you? Do you smoke the smoke or does the smoke smoke you? Kind of thing. But the world is consuming us. So we are addicted to the world, and we get to keep coming back because God is so kind. And I'm talking about God within yourself. I'm not talking about some man with a white beard high up on a mountaintop. I'm talking about your inner dweller that keeps track of your desires and allows you to come back to fulfill those desires. If you have this burning desire to have a chocolate ice cream cone and you don't get it in this lifetime, guess what? You get to come back to get it. Every desire that you have has to be fulfilled. So what do? You transcend those desires that aren't good for you. So you move away from the worldly desires and you bring those desires in so that your desire to know yourself is the ultimate desire that you have. And if every desire gets fulfilled, guess what? The desire to know yourself gets fulfilled. The desire for peace within yourself, the desire for contentment within you gets fulfilled. But as long as we're still looking outside of ourselves, we're still looking in the world, those desires have to come back. We have to come back to fulfill those desires. So we are intoxicated. We talk about how Prakriti is intoxicated and she's at the base of the spine coiled up, right? We are the ones that are intoxicated. We're intoxicated by the world process. We're intoxicated by having the families that we have, or we're intoxicated by the jobs that we have. We're intoxicated by the bodies. We're intoxicated by satisfying the bodies. We are intoxicated by the world. And as long as so an alcoholic or anyone who has an addiction, right? They have to hit rock bottom before they change. And the effort to change has to be perceived as less than the effort to stay the same. Or otherwise we stay the same because we're kind of lazy, really. So we have to hit rock bottom in the world process. We have to realize that, damn, this shit does nothing for me. This does not give me any satisfaction. This does not give me any peace. This does not give me any contentment. This does not make me more loving. This does not make me more kind. And when we get to that place, then we will start to change. That's when we start to see this. It's really beautiful, but we have to get to the place, we have to get to our point of being rock bottom before we will make the effort to really change. Otherwise, all the worldly stuff is going to keep enticing us. Maybe if I get, so next time, like say we have a partner in this lifetime and we think, this partner didn't really make me happy, but I think if I have this kind of partner next time, that's what I want. So we're unconsciously thinking those things. And then next time we come back and we start seeking the kind of partner that we unconsciously want in this lifetime because this partner didn't make us happy, because we weren't to the place of saying, okay, what is it that I have to learn from this? And accepting what God has given me to grow, to evolve, to change, to move closer to God. We need to examine not just our conscious thoughts, but we need to get deeper inside of ourselves. This is part of the whole self-study thing. We need to study ourselves. And we want to get to that place of hitting rock bottom in the world. Otherwise, we're just going to keep coming back. And we're just going to keep living the life of a Rakshasi or a Rakshasa, meaning that we're going to just keep living that Rajasic lifestyle of these constantly looking for something to make us happy, and nothing outside of us will ever make us happy. I was thinking Friday, Riley was had a migraine and was just pretty flat for pretty much the whole day. And it started me thinking just about death and the fact that when people are dying, if you go into a place, hospice, or when my brother Rick was dying, it's quiet, right? It's completely quiet. They don't want loud noises. Riley didn't want any loud noises. He was in there where it was really still and really quiet. When we're getting ready to leave this form, we don't want, there is, I think it was Florence Nightingale who was talked about how there were people that she knows died because as they were healing, they were recouping, some of the loud noises and stuff startled and shocked their system so much that they ended up dying. Loud noises, but this is what the world is, right? So if we don't want it at the time of death, why do we want noise while we're living and not sick? Because I can guarantee you, if you're into politics and it's your time of death, you're not going to worry one bit about who's winning the election. Or did, I don't know, Bill 123 pass? Those aren't going to be things that you're concerned with at all. You're not going to be worried about who won the Emmy, who won the Grammar. You're not going to be concerned about listening to your favorite group. So if you're not going to be interested at the time of death, why would you want to be interested in it now? Because we are intoxicated with the world. We are addicted to the world. We are addicted to creation and not the creator. We need to shift our addiction. We need to shift our allegiance. We need to shift it back to that from where we came, which is God. We are an aspect of the divine, and at one point in one lifetime, we will merge back. We will become one with the one. But this is where we need to examine our addictions. We need to examine so that we can get to the point where we become a reach and we become consumed with this sattvic energy, and we have the right relationship with the world. Well, I think that's it. Any questions?